Hi everyone, Anthony Buff Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Full of Hell album, Trumpeting Ecstasy. Full of Hell is a Maryland band that has been at it for a little while now. Across their discography, the band has been fusing multiple genres of extreme music into a cauldron of pain. Grindcore, death metal, black metal, hardcore punk, some noise rock in there, all swirled together into a very sludgy, power violent mix. However, the band's previous records, while I have found them powerful, I didn't think they were all that memorable. At least the band was living up to their name though. But around the corner, the group would release some very unexpected but very creative collaborative records, one with Merzbow, which I came away very impressed with. The legendary Japanese artist used his talents for noise to kind of enhance the band's really animalistic sound and performance style. While the band's collaborative record with The Body, I didn't find it to be as impressive, but it was still a very heavy and massive album with lots of abrasive highlights. They also dropped a pretty decent split with Nails too that's worth checking out. Now this new record over here is an exciting return for Full of Hell to the one band, one album format. And what makes this record even more exciting is that it's produced by the one and only Kurt Ballou. Of course, Kurt Ballou is known as a member of the amazing metalcore band Converge, but his many production credits have gained a following and a reputation all their own, helping countless modern bands sculpt these incredibly tight, heavy, nasty, bone-snapping sounds. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that this was the case for Full of Hell too on this new record. This is easily the band's best-sounding album yet, their heaviest album yet, their punchiest album yet, most precise too. It's so crushing and well-defined despite how chaotic a lot of the playing is on this record, between all the tremolo pick guitars and blast beat drumming. And can't forget the two-vocal approach of guttural death metal growls and black metal style shrill. As far as the sound quality and the production, the performances too, on this record, I came away from this pretty impressed. But like with previous Full of Hell records, unfortunately there's not really that much to the band's style. Despite the varied mix of extreme music styles going into this record, I'm surprised this album came out the other end sounding so meat and potatoes. Case in point, the intro track, which is one of the most cliched songs I've heard open up a grind record in a while. From the edgy Werner Herzog quote that opens the track up to the flurry of guitars and drums that we speed through until the song finishes off, it's clear the band is basically going to be making no effort whatsoever to make this an album that grabs the attention of anybody who's heard more than 5 grindcore records. And when the band is doing their best to work outside of the generic grind framework, they're only incorporating the most widely applicable elements from other genres into the sound. But for the most part, I can't say that they aren't incorporated well or tastefully. I love the song Bound SPHINX on this thing. It's brutal, it's blistering from the perfectly executed drums that syncopate awesomely with the dissonant guitar work. The grimy, distorted bass breakdown in the second half is really awesome. I love the multiple phases and dynamic nature of this track. The varied intensity is nice. I also love the black metal inspired lead guitars that sear through the mix in the second half of the track, The Cosmic Vein. And the descending and sort of ascending guitar leads on the track Digital Prison are crazy. It's so, it's such an eargasmic moment for me on the record because that track is so overwhelming. It's so relentless. The track segues really nicely into the chilling intro of the song Crawling Back to God. I also think that it's no coincidence that tracks of these titles would be shoulder to shoulder with one another. It's like I'm hearing two parts of a larger idea, and that being said, the album generally is a pretty seamless listen, to the point where a lot of tracks just blur together into an experience that's pretty holistic, which could be a good thing or a bad thing for a grind album. I mean, you know, some people love their records to sound like this endless torture chamber. While I personally do prefer my songs on a grindcore record to have a bit of individual flavor or memorability or personality to them. The quality, production, and performances continue deeper into the album, but it becomes very apparent very quickly what the band's formula on this record is. Take some grindcore grooves and blast beats, break that up with some heavy riffs, throw in a little bit of black metal inspired lead melodies and the guitar work, and then top that all off with some very gruff, very guttural, very deep death metal style vocals, which is not a bad mix of sounds if you're talking about a relatively short album or a relatively short song. This record is just 23 minutes long. However, there are a lot of tracks in the final moments of the record that try to go the distance, reach beyond the 2-minute mark. And it's during these moments I feel like the band really fails to justify the length of these tracks. On the second half of the song, Gnawed Flesh, the "man will fail, man will always fail" refrain gets really old really fast. I think some of the writing here, especially on the longer tracks, just could have been more varied, more detailed. And again, since you're already making blatant references to black metal and death metal and sludge metal too, why not reach a little deeper into the more complex and unique elements of those styles to incorporate them into what you're already doing on that baseline grindcore sound? I'm just surprised considering how much the band obviously knows and is aware of extreme music, how uniform this album feels. The biggest risk on this entire album comes in the shape of the title track, which features this distortion coming from either the guitars or the bass or something else. I'm not really sure what the source is, but it's so brittle and it's so harsh. It has an industrial tone to it, especially with just how heavy and lumbering and primal the percussion is on this track. This is a direction that, you know, not that I'm saying that I wanted the band to do more of specifically this sound on the record, but these are the kinds of risks and surprises I know Full of Hell is capable of, and I just would have loved to have heard them embark upon a little more often on this record. Also, the addition of vocals, guest vocals from Nicole Dollenganger was really unexpected. Makes for the most tender moment, easily the most tender moment on the entire record, as her singing is eerily beautiful. But moving beyond that, does the band really justify their length of the 6-minute closer on this record, considering that the outro riff of the song starts at about the 2-minute mark and goes on for the remaining 4 minutes with just like, you know, almost a single drum change up? Not really. This is a pretty okay album. It's not awful. There wasn't a single track outside of the intro that I was really disappointed in, but I did have my fears confirmed on this record, and that is that Full of Hell would go back to a more standard, a more dime a dozen sound, which I guess is fine if you're looking for a more straightforward approach to your sludgy, heavy grindcore. But if you're going to listen to and praise and obsess over this, you might as well listen to the rank and file of grindcore bands that Kurt Ballou has produced for over the years, as well as all of the crusty grind acts that Southern Lord has released albums for since about 2010 or so. I guess I just expect a little more from Full of Hell because I know they're capable of it, but still, you know, decent listen of a record, even if it is just kind of a short thrill, feeling a light, decent 6 on this thing. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe, and please don't cry. Just leave an angry comment in the comments if you're angry. Videos next to my head I think you should check out, as well as channel subscription link, official website too. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Get a good night's sleep. Stay hydrated forever.